How we doing? We're back here working on this 83 944 Safari project. As you saw in the last video, we got the engine, transmission, the whole drivetrain in. Now what I'm working on is getting everything connected. So getting all the water hoses on, all the electrical on, all the vacuum lines. And what's a little bit kind of tricky with this car is as I've said before, the car broke timing belt, sat for a while, and then I think someone started to part it out because someone was cutting a bunch of wires, taking a whole bunch of random things off. So I'm trying to piece all that back together now, which I thought I had the majority of the parts, but it turns out I do not have as many parts as I thought. So I've been trying to put some things on, put things back together, do what I can for the time being to keep the ball rolling on this project. I'm kind of at, motor-wise, a part standstill. I've ordered some more stuff. I'm trying to source some used things right now to keep it going. So I've been doing some little things like put the wiper motor back on and wiper arms. When they took the wiper motor off, they just cut the wires, but luckily the plug and the wires were still right on the wiper motor itself, so that was good. I just spliced all those back together, heat shrank them, and then taped it up and put the wiper motor back on, wiper arms, we're good to go there. So the next thing I wanted to do is the brakes on this car because they were pretty tired. All rusty because the thing's been sitting for, I don't know, what is it, 14 years, something like that, since it's been on the road. So gonna go through, refresh the brakes, and we're gonna put the bump steer kit in the spindles. And to do that, I'll show you a little trick that I got. Ta-da! Here's brakes. So my gray 85 944, that has turbo brakes on it. So it's got the larger brakes, the 4-piston Brembo calipers on it. So I still saved the original brakes off of that car because they were still in good condition. I think I had maybe 10,000 miles on them and like 4 track days, but they didn't wear that bad. It was kind of cheapo stuff that lasts a while. So I did rebuild these calipers a while ago when I first put the car together. I rebuilt the front and rear, all of them, but they've been sitting now for, oh boy, probably at least 6 years off the car with no fluid in them. See, nothing's coming out. So that means all the seals in here are very dry. They're probably no good. If I were to put these on the car the way it is, step on the brake, the pistons would come out, and then the seals would probably hold it there because they're so hard. So I got rebuild kits, so gonna go through, rebuild these again. It's really not a bad job to do. It'll give me a chance to clean up all the slides and everything on them because these kind of work a little funny with the slides and everything. Clean up the rotors a little bit. They just got a little bit of surface rust on them. And I have the whole spindle unit for the front. Sorry. Because the turbo brakes required a different spindle. So I'm just gonna bolt these right on, take the old ones off, put these on. And before I do that, I got these bushings to do the bump steer kit to flip the tie rods to the top. So we'll drill out these old tie rod holes, press in our new bushings. We'll make sure we press them in the right way so that we can flip the tie rods. And we'll do all that, get the brakes done, we'll give them a good flush. And then that'll be one less thing getting this closer to the road, which will be really good because my first week in June deadline of getting this thing together is coming up pretty quick. It's May 9th right now, and haven't gotten much farther with the engine since you guys last saw it. I did find my upper timing cover, which was nice. I realized I was hiding some parts on myself, and I got some wiring I need to fix there. Those are my reference and speed sensor wires. Got the alternator relocation bracket lightly bolted in. I need to get some more hardware for that. Got some water lines on, all the ones on this side. So yeah, we're getting there. So what we'll do now, we'll go through rebuilding these brakes. I'll just go through one with you. It's pretty simple. You do one, you do the rest of them. So, all right, let's get going on this. Okay, so here we have brake caliper and slide assembly. These are 3 individual pieces. You have your brake pad holder, the main, housing, if you want to call it that, and then the actual piston itself. So when these all kind of work together, this brake pad housing, this is what actually slides and moves as the brakes wear. So we can slide that out. As you'll see, we can pop these out here. It's got little Teflon wear pads that this main housing actually slides on, and it's got some spring pressure here to keep it from flopping around. So our kit, which I didn't grab, so our new kit actually comes with 3 pieces, or actually 5 pieces. So it comes with new Teflon slides, comes with some instructions, comes with a dust boot, the retaining clip for the dust boot, and our square cut seal. This is the piston seal. So we got the slide off. You can just set that aside. Sorry for the ever dirty bench. So now what we'll do is we will separate the piston assembly from the main housing. What we do, just give this a couple knocks. So there we go. There are our 3 individual pieces of the system. So what we're going to be working with here the most is the piston assembly. So what we can do, we have our old ring in here. You can just get in here with a pick, start to slide it off, and then it'll just bring the whole boot out with it. And that just pinches it into this little groove on our caliper. So now what we do after that, we're going to go over here in the vise because we don't want to shoot this thing everywhere. And we're going to use some air pressure to remove the piston, because the piston slides in and out in here, and this right here, the piston, that's what actually pushes on your brake pads. So what we're going to do is use a little bit of air pressure in here, just like the fluid. When you step on the brake pedal, the fluid goes in there, pushes your piston out. We're going to do the same idea, but with some air, and just to pop it out of there. And you want to go easy, you don't want to go too much. So I'm using the vise to kind of control how much it can come out at a time, because it can pop very quick like that. And we don't want to go shooting this thing across the shop, you know, hurt myself or anything else. I think that did it. Yep. Okay. So that popped out. Wipe this brake fluid off of our air nozzle and vise, because we don't want it to take the paint off of the vise, because brake fluid will remove paint if it sits on there long enough. All right, so now we'll just pour a little brake fluid that was left in there out. We'll give this a quick wipe. So I'll show you. You can see, where are we here? That right there is our seal. And that's what we're going to want to take out. So we just use our pick. Just get in behind it, and it'll pop right out. So the other thing we want to do, see all the dirt and stuff on this piston, the little bit of rust. We'll want to wipe that off. It's still got some on there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a worn Scotch-Brite, so it's not very aggressive. Just to take, you can see where the seal was sitting, got a little rust line above and below. So we're just going to take a old Scotch-Brite, give this guy a spin, try to remove any of that leftover corrosion just from these sitting. So kind of a neat thing. So in my day job, in my real life, when I'm not working on cars in the shop, I work for a company that makes brake pistons for cars. We make them out of phenolic resin. We mold them in-house. We build all the molds and everything in-house. I'm a design engineer there. I design the molds and all the tooling to make brake pistons. This is a steel one, but same idea if it's phenolic. So as we can see, this piston's nice and clean, and you want to make sure that there's no pitting or anything on it, because if you have any pitting or anything, that will cause a leak. So what I'm going to do now is just clean up in this groove where the dust boot goes. Clean that up a little bit. I'm going to clean the slides and everything on the caliper. Then we'll start putting this back together. So I want to show inside the bore on this. You can see at the top, above where the dust seal goes, there's some rust. That is okay. That is behind the seal. It won't leak. Or it's in front of the seal, so there's no liquid up there. It's not going to leak. It's not going to cause any damage. You'll also see farther down in there, there's a little bit of pitting in one spot. That is all right, because that does not touch anything that's a sealing surface. That is just in the bore. It's okay. It would be a problem if that pitting was on the piston, because then the piston is what actually touches the seal and does all the sealing. So if the piston had any pitting, you'd need to get a new piston, but this is totally all right. So I do have to apologize, because I realized you guys cannot actually see what I was doing in the vise when I was getting the piston out of the caliper here. So I'll have to show you on the next one. But so when we're putting this back together, all we want to do, you want to lubricate this. You don't want it to go in dry. So what I have is I just have a little cap full of brake fluid here. Just gonna dip my finger in, give it a little brake fluid on there, just to give it some slide when it goes in. That will just make the piston go in a little easier. And you'll also see we'll put a little bit of brake fluid on the piston to get that to go in pretty well. And so this will just pop in there. We have our clean piston, a little bit of brake fluid on that. And what we'll do, just get that in. Feel it get started. There we go. And it goes. So just pull that out a little bit to get the dust boot on. See, that comes out very fast. So we're just gonna do a little bit of this. Pop the whole thing out. There we go. So we can see the groove that the dust boot goes in, and so we'll work that around the piston. We'll start working it around the caliper side. That is on there, that is all in. We have our retaining clip. So what we do is we just start that around like so. We don't want it too close to the edge of the dust boot. You want it up just a little bit so it's pushing down on that groove. So, and that is rebuilt piston and caliper. What I also did is I cleaned the slides and put a little bit of anti-seize on them on this. And then really it just slides back together. Opposite of taking it apart, you slide the caliper in this bracket, and then the piston or the brake pad housing into this one. We'll clean these slides up, replace our Teflon pads, slide it all back together. So here is your finished loaded caliper. What you didn't see is I didn't clean up these slide pins for the pads beforehand. So I just hit them on the wire reel really quick. You don't want to forget your pad retainer. It's a little spring that keeps tension on the pads, keeps them from wiggling. And the other really important thing is your lock for the pins. This little bar. If you were running brake sensors, You'd slip the pad sensor right down that little slot, and you'd pinch the wire right through that center to hold it going out. So that's pretty much it for these. You can see the new Teflon things. I put some anti-seize on there. But that's pretty much it for rebuilt caliper. All good to go. I think these kits are like 20 bucks or 15 bucks, something like that. So pretty quick and easy way to renew your calipers to ensure that you have good, consistent braking. Especially on any of these vehicles. Well, this one's 40 years old now, so rubber components are getting pretty tired. The other thing, I don't know if I showed, along with rebuilding these brakes, replacing all the rubber flex hoses as well. So all the rubber for the braking system will be new. You don't have to worry about the rubber brake hoses. Sometimes what they can do is they start to break down on the inside and they can constrict. And it will make the car act like it has a stuck caliper, because it'll keep dragging a little bit. You rebuild the caliper, you find it's still doing it, it's probably your rubber brake hose. So after this, I already did that rear caliper. So the rears are pretty much done. So I'll probably get those swapped out. Probably not tonight. I think it's like almost 10. It's a work night, so I should probably go to bed soon. So I'll wrap this up right here. That's the basics of rebuilding your calipers on a Porsche 944. Pretty much the same for all the NAs, 83 right up through the end, the late cars, same calipers, same process. The fronts are slightly different. They have a larger piston in it, same process. Like I said, if you do one of them, they're all the same, same concept on these cars. So pretty easy to do. You don't have to be super mechanically inclined. Good little rewarding job. So we'll wrap this up here. We'll talk to you guys later, and hopefully we will be getting this thing running before too long, or at least get the brakes done. And I'll show you when I go to swap them out, pretty easy. Also, when I go to put these bushings in the spindle for the bump steer kit. So from there, I think I'm kind of rambling at this point. Kind of a little scatterbrained right now with just all the stuff I have to do to this thing. So, all right, I'm done this time. We'll see you next time.